Square has announced one of the most highly anticipated IPOs of the year, and after a thorough look at their S1, the company is surprisingly healthy. I sat down with my fellow writers to discuss.
Square's going public. You guys excited?
I am not.
What?
I am jacked
Wait,
out.
no. Oh, come on.
No, I mean, it's a long time coming. It's
Right.
fun to see.
Yeah. So let's talk about the company. So let's see here. Revenue of $560.6 million in the first half this year. Loss of $77.6 million. That's not too bad.
Honestly, the revenue's higher than I expected, and the losses is lower than I expected. So I'm actually pretty impressed by their overall metrics, and I think they're going to have a pretty strong IPO.
Yeah, and
Where does most of their money go?
Their product is very
Starbucks.
expensive.
Yeah.
Well, Starbucks.
We'll get to that.
Their COGS is just high, and that's the whole payment space. It's not a really high margin business, and that's been a complaint that's come up a lot as Square has marched towards an IPO. But I mean, the fact that they only have a $77 million loss off of more than $500 million in revenue, and they had the same loss off of more revenue than last year. So they managed to cap their loss rate while expanding their revenue, which is always a good sign when you want to go public.
Yeah, so this is not actually that terrible of a company. I mean, digging a little bit deeper,
I like it.
in the first half of 2014, it had a 44 million EBITDA loss, and this half it was about 19.2 million. So things don't look that bad, I guess. And now it's heading into an IPO market, which is garbage.
Choppy.
Yeah.
Well, right before we sat down.
Somewhere between garbage and shopping.
It's kind of garbage
Goppy.
choppy, if you will. Goppy. No, right before we sat down to chat, actually, First Data priced at $16 a share. They're a big transaction company as well. They were going to go between 18 and 20, but came out at 16. So that's a pretty strong indicator that the market is a little rough. Now, Square is a much better company than they
Sure.
are. So maybe they won't have the same problems, but that might be a negative indicator going into their roadshow.
Right. And they're trying to diversify, they're not just the dongle, they're not just payments, they have business software and, love us small businesses.
And
but
Jack.
And then there's Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey's
The
got a
wunderkind.
lot of billions.
Yeah, I mean, just the other day, just last week, we were worried about whether he could run both companies and would Twitter let him take control of, that company because he's running Square and what does it mean for Square? And all of a sudden, I think everything that happened with Twitter, it's solid with Jack in control. They're shoring up the board, and I think that helps Square. And I think that helps Square go public.
So he comes back to Twitter as full-time CEO, fires 8% of the staff, hires a new executive chairman, then has lunch, turns around, drops an S1, takes Square public. I didn't do anything
All in a
today.
day's work.
Yeah,
I just typed some jokes on the internet.
Right. No, I mean, obviously he's building, or his executives have built really strong teams around him. Square is definitely one of those strong teams.
Even though it's listed as a risk factor, though. Sure. Running two companies.
Yeah, they listed their CEO as a risk factor, which is very interesting.
But here's a question. We talk about this a lot. Can you do two things at once? But I mean, if you're the CEO of, say, Microsoft, you have so many different business divisions that you're running multiple companies of larger scale than Square or Twitter. So I wonder if it's kind of the wrong question to ask.
Well, if something's going to give, I think it's going to be on the Square side, and I don't think it has to give as far as someone else coming in control. It doesn't have to happen until after they go public, right?
This is also the guy that helped co-found Twitter. So he built both of these companies, essentially, right? So, I mean, Twitter clearly decided that he's the right guy to run Twitter, and Square has clearly decided, maybe, with some caveats, that he's the right guy to run Square. So maybe it works out. Elon Musk is able to do it.
Well, Elon Musk is like Jesus. So I'm really curious. They were $6-7 billion at the last round. Do we have a guess for what their pricing will be and how much their value will be at the time of the IPO?
Oh, man. Do you want to do an over-under?
Okay.
Over-under on 8.
Okay. I'll take 8.5.
I'm going to stay out of this.
Oh, come on. What should we wager?
All I know is that Jack gave a shout out to his mom in the S1, and that was awesome.
What did he say?
He referred to his mother as his first boss at Square. I mean, that's the first line of his letter.
That's really cute.
It was cute.
That's very cute. I like it.
So Starbucks, really quickly.
Woo!
Not good news, right?
No, so as it turns out, the Starbucks deal is kind of wrapping up. We didn't really know that entirely.
It's done, donezo.
But they lost money on that every single quarter, as far as I can tell, and it was just a complete money pit for them, which is too bad because when the deal was announced, people thought, oh, this is great for Square. They're growing up, good job, big win, and it turns out big fail. But happily, it's done.
And same thing, if you take Starbucks out of it, again, Square does not look all that terrible, right? I mean, it turned out to be a huge part of their revenue, but it turned out to also be a huge part of their costs as well, right?
Yes.
So Square minus Starbucks.
Looks even healthier. I mean, honestly, if you take out those losses from the first couple of quarters, you're probably around 50 instead of 77, and that's less than 10% net margin negative. It's not bad for where they're in their growth cycle.
So going public, and I think that'll be one of the more interesting companies that we gotta follow, I guess.
Jack doesn't drink Starbucks anyways. I mean, come on. Come on now. Today's filing is just the first step before Square trades publicly. Can Jack Dorsey lead two companies? Will Starbucks sour future partnerships? Will the rocky market put a damper on what should be a big pop? We'll find out.